6 o'clock, Wednesday, February 20th, 2019. Calling the Lakeville Board of Health meeting to order. Is there anyone recording this other than the Lakeville Board of Health and Lake Cam? I see no one. First on the agenda is 207-209 County Street.
Mr. Chairman, board members, we've been here, and I'm sure you remember, we've been here a couple of times on the situation here where Mr. Moriarty and his wife own two lots, 207 and 209, and we're presented with a problem where there's a shared system already, shared septic and well. We're trying to formalize this so that we can either put restrictions on the deed, so if Mr. Moriarty and his wife decide to sell one lot, that there'd be an agreement in place, agreement with the prospective owner and ostensibly the town, because you're a party to this. I've had a little bit difficulty dealing with the situation because honestly, I haven't had a situation like this. The main issue that I see legally is that the Moriartys own both properties.
Correct.
So presently, right now, they don't need a shared system because it's been owned by both parties forever, I guess, you know. So that right now, we're trying to put Mr. Moriarty and his wife in a situation that if they decide to sell something, that the prospective owner would be able to buy something that would be marketable. And one of the things I actually, a couple of months ago, I had already contacted one of my underwriters that does mortgages, and they gave me a list of things that, as I said, this is a rather unique situation. They said, if you're going to sell it, there's certain things that have to be done to make it marketable. The well has to be tested, because there's no option, or very little options here. Somebody can't buy the lot and connect into public water.
Correct.
Doesn't exist.
Or really even move the well, because there's nowhere to put it on these lots.
So now the basic issue has come up here, and I think the last time we were here with the engineer, is that we would like to put something together, and the Moriartys are concerned about the expense of the surety as far as providing a bond or some type of sureties. Now, I did mention the last time I was here that I did one of these in Dartmouth where the Board of Health and the Board of Appeals, I think it was at the time, said if you put up a letter of credit, we would accept that from a bank, or if you put up a bank book naming the town as a beneficiary in case there was a failure in the system. It's all a matter of expenses, I guess. A letter of credit, I'm not sure how much that would cost or whether the bank would do it. If they did do that, it would be a yearly, the bank's going to review it every year because they don't know. Mr. Moriarty could be on top of the world one day, and a year later the bank's going to say, we're going to pull the letter of credit. So he's got to come up with some type of financing or something that the town would accept for surety. And I think that's what we're here today, is to try to digest this, find out what the town would like me to put into an agreement.
Yeah.
And Mr. Moriarty and his wife and I could talk about it and find out what our options are.
Okay.
We just discussed this briefly, and I guess the best case scenario is to say waive it until they sold the lot, if the board would do that. And I don't know whether you've talked to town council about that concept, but if there was a failure in the system right now, the Moriartys obviously would fix it. They're not sharing it with anybody. And if he sold a lot, they would need an easement, the prospective owner would need an easement to get in there, because if he didn't fix it, they would go in there and fix the system and take charge of that. But that's basically the issues that I see here, is that we want to find out what the town would require for surety, and that how we would move this thing forward. I've done all the legal work. Jamie has done, I think, the engineering. I haven't seen the easement, but he called me and said he had an easement plan that would show that an easement to get to the well in the septic system.
Okay. Yeah, we did contact KP Law.
Right.
We have a response from them. I don't know if Kevin wants to talk some on that one. And they did agree with your theory, is it's seen the same owner owns both lots.
Right.
It's technically not a shared system yet by their definition of a shared system. So they agreed there wouldn't really be a need to put up surety until you intend to sell one of the lots. And then we have a response, Kevin.
And they went on to say that, right now, you could, what's this here? You could, the Board of Health would require that the property owner record a deed restriction in the chain of title for both lots to notify future purchasers that the lots will be served by a shared system and that the requirements of Title V for shared systems will have to be complied with prior to transfer of either lot to a third party. So something that notifies any potential buyers.
Sure.
And at that time,
Yeah, that was their only recommendation, that,
Right.
that you put something in the deed prior to, so it's on the deed that this is a shared system, even though you're the owner.
Yeah.
So if anybody was looking to buy it, they would know ahead of time that this is a shared system.
When they do a title search, they would know.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with that, but I would think at the time, that restriction wouldn't have to be put in there until he decided to sell the property. I mean, we could put it in now, and say for the whole world, there'd be a restriction there, but it wouldn't matter until he decided to sell the property. If he decided to sell it to me, and he would have to put it in the deed to say that, you have a shared system here, and, you're gonna have to sign this agreement. And
No.
that, the agreement would bind both parties, and there's an arbitration clause in the agreement to say if there was a dispute, they agree to arbitrate it and find out what the, final result would be.
Right now, prior to, on our other meetings we had with you, Jamie had thought you were gonna go ahead and actually set everything up legally through the registry of deeds as far as showing an easement on each property and getting that all done prior and recording it? Or is that,
Well,
You wanna hold off
that's
on
the
that?
dilemma I have here. I talked to Jamie, and he said he would put together the easement. He said he did, so I haven't seen it yet, but
yeah,
to me, I don't think there's any problems recording that easement. The problem is right now, it's meaningless until there's another owner.
right.
But we could do that. One of the other options that I see here, and I haven't discussed this with Mr. Moriarty, would be check aboard the lots. He could put one lot in his name, one lot in his wife's name, and the easement would make more sense to do that. Because just there'd be two separate owners in that case, where she would have a right to have an easement, and then if she sold the property, it would go to the buyer.
Yeah.
But the easement would be in place. If they both own it, I don't know, I've never seen that where there's an easement. It's like giving yourself an easement, doesn't make any
That-
sense.
Right.
But can I interject here?
Yeah.
If we put an easement on the title, then we can sign off on this, and this is done, and we go forward.
Correct, that's what I'm
I mean,
looking
I'm
for.
fine with that.
It's just, because it is
Yeah.
a shared, so you're,
Absolutely.
we found out there's
I
two
might never-
separate
I might
lots,
never
even
sell
though
the
you're the
lot. Yeah, I
owner,
might never sell it, and but
they're
I just didn't
deeded two
want.
separate lots. so
Right,
right,
It should
absolutely.
get addressed now,
Sure.
even though,
That's why we did this, is
I
all
would
this
like to
extra
see it
work
get
is
it all, and
to
then
be
they'll know,
clear.
it'll cover the KP Law's recommendation, it'll already be on the deed.
Yeah.
Right,
It'll already be
I mean,
done.
yeah.
I'm-
No, we can do that, but
And
I'm
then
just
just-
saying that I've
but
never.
they come back, let's just say if the property did sell, then they would come back and,
We would just have to
Get
set up a
surety later
surety.
Correct, and
Yeah.
at that time,
At that
sure.
time.
And
But at
I'd
least
be fine
everything
with
would
that.
already be done legally on each
yeah.
lot, each lot would have a deed, everything would be set up, and.
Right. No, that's, we can do that.
I'm fine with that,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's all you want us to record.
Going through this, I thought of it too, was setting up anything concrete easement wise. Say it was 10, 15 years from now, you decided you want to sell and it's in failure.
Mhm.
Then that easement, you might be, depending on where the new system goes,
Right.
you might have to change it again.
Right.
So just having the
Right.
the
Just
note
the-
of it
yep.
is good enough.
I'm fine with
And then
that.
creating the outline of it,
Yeah.
when you get to that point,
Sure.
makes more sense
Sure,
too.
I just wasn't,
The
I
thought
wasn't
didn't
happy
occur to me
about
when we
having to
talked
put
about
money
before.
in escrow and doing all
Right.
that when I own both.
Correct.
You know,
It makes-
so,
and
I mean, I have.
we agree with
I have
that.
no
It
plans
is-
on selling it, but you never know
Right.
what transpires.
No.
you know.
And there could be some kind of negotiation when you to sell too. I mean,
Absolutely.
I've been through one when I was in a condo and everyone had, a shared part and there was assessment fees and whatever. There
No,
could be some
I
things you
think
could
that
negotiate
you're
with a
exactly
buyer
right,
too.
is at the
You
time he
never
sells,
know.
if he decides to sell a lot, there's gotta be negotiation, because I can put together an agreement that they may
Yeah.
not wanna sign, and their lawyer, whoever buys is gonna say, no, let's do this, let's do that, so that's gonna be subject to change, but the easement be in place.
Right.
We can do that, and,
Yeah.
at least the easement may change
Right, and who knows, you
Down the
may
road.
decide to sell both, sell it all as one,
Right,
and then you
right.
don't.
Hopefully not. Hopefully, I'm not
But-
going through all this with that, yeah.
But you know
yeah.
what I mean, like 10, 20 years down the
Correct.
road, you never know.
I hope my
And it's
kid gets
good to
it.
have that in place already, what the KP law had addressed, notifying a potential buyer, because with these shared systems, they required inspections every 3 years. So you might have that potential buyer come in and say, I didn't know I have to do an inspection every 3 years,
Right,
so at least they're made aware of it.
Yep.
And they'd have to put money in escrow every
Yeah.
month,
Sure.
whether it's $50 or $100 or whatever.
Yep.
A reasonable amount would be to cover a
Correct.
septic repair and a well.
I'm sorry, on the inspection, now you're saying shared system, who is to inspect it? An engineer?
A Title V inspector.
Yeah, okay.
Licensed Title V.
So I have a
Just
guy
to
that
make
does
sure
that
it's
already.
operating properly.
Yeah, and any requirements on pumping with that as well, or just have it inspected?
No, none of those, if it would require it, if you
Yeah.
saw a heavy buildup of sludge or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it
So
can't
just
be
gonna go
pumped
check
2
all the
weeks prior
components.
to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
Do the
want
inspection, that's
to
per
get it pumped
Title V.
before too.
I
So
do,
you
I
can
was
see
just
any
curious
leaks or
what,
anything
if there
like
was
that,
any,
too.
that's the first I knew about that with the shared. Any other requirements on a shared system that I should know about?
That's the only one, and
That's the
that's
only
per
one.
Title V, that's not a
Yeah,
Lakeville.
that's, I mean, he charged me
So every-
$50 to
every-
inspect
The other
them,
thing
so-
too, that's kind of good about this too, is somebody looks at it and they go, oh, it's a shared system. They're more aware of what's harmful to a septic system.
Yeah,
So they pay more attention to what they put down it.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
And
yeah,
then,
yeah.
you know, because the inspections and you
Yeah.
don't want failure.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, and that's why I didn't really want to change it or move it. It is a fairly new system, so, and it has
Yeah.
been brought up to code.
Right.
And that's that's when I bought it, that was part of the reason, so I'm fine with that. I mean, obviously, as long as my lawyer's fine with that.
I don't have any problems. I
Everyone's-
think
What
it's-
about notifying us if there's any sale? How would we be notified? Would that be required too?
I'm sure,
I think,
I'm sure
yeah, how
whoever's
do you wanna
buying it
set that up?
is
You'd have
gonna,
to-
whoever's buying it is gonna contact you and find out the parameters.
Yeah, 'cause we're gonna get a Title V.
Because they're gonna do a title
They're gonna
search.
do it.
Anybody that's buying it, their lawyer's gonna do a title search. They're gonna see that on the deed, they're gonna notify you and ask you what the parameters are. I mean,
Yeah.
I do a lot of properties and the title is
Yeah, I
everything. I mean, when you go in
Yeah,
there.
it just says it must comply with Title V, that
Yeah.
means we have to get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna need,
We
it's
can
gonna
get
need a
it
Title
right,
V
yeah.
certificate.
It'd just be like a
to-
sale of a
to
property.
be sold anyways.
You
just
kind of
trigger the Title V.
Where you could record.
Yeah, I think it should be in the
Conversation,
recording,
Yeah.
as far as, because that's the only way we're gonna get contacted. It would have to be, you
Yeah.
know, get everything recorded and just say at the time of a property transfer, we have to,
It's unique, even our town council said, it wouldn't be considered a shared system. same
because it's the same owner.
That's
Yeah, it
what
said the
we were
same
just
thing.
going through in the
Yeah.
truck out there.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't,
I said, yeah.
he agreed.
Yeah.
So
Well,
there's no
that's-
need to pay.
That's awesome that they did that. Usually,
Right,
it's
could
town
have
council goes
conflicting-
the other way,
Yeah,
so.
no.
I'm fine. Anything you wanna know about how you should go about that,
No,
or?
Yeah,
if you
I
get me,
can have,
give me some
Lauren
language
draft
and
up.
then we can get the easement in there and put,
Yeah.
record
Have
it.
Jamie
That's
just-
better. We should-
Yeah.
Yeah, email it.
Yes, I do. I'll give it,
All right, any other,
I'll write it down.
we almost can get this put to bed and I can
Yes.
start building and move forward?
Move forward.
That'd be great,
And then,
for the long haul.
yes, you might need a variance with a septic tank. Jamie's aware of that, I guess, with a new one, because it doesn't meet the 10-foot setback.
Okay.
And if you're gonna build in the same exact spot with a new foundation,
Mhm.
you might have to come back to us for a variance in that septic tank.
All right.
It's a simple,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
but we did discuss that with Jamie.
Yes, yeah, I was
And
out
I
of town
think
that
we
night,
had
yeah.
talked about, we were gonna have all the abutters notified also.
Right.
Seeing you are tearing down and rebuilding in the same spot.
Yeah. Yeah, they know, I mean, I've notified them with conservation.
Yeah,
I've
Jamie,
notified
just,
them with-
we agreed with
the
Jamie,
var-
felt.
Zoning board
Yeah,
of,
full
yeah.
disclosure.
Full,
right
yeah,
now.
just
I'm
notify
fine.
all the abutters.
I've gone
If
through
anybody
this
has
far,
a,
yeah,
a complaint or a question, they can come to the meeting that night.
yeah. Sure,
and
I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. I got nothing to hide.
That way, nothing will come up
Little
after the
things just to
fact.
keep.
I hate that they can't come back on it. I get that, yeah, sure. All right, anything else?
That's it.
You should be
All
good.
right.
All
Guys,
right.
thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Well, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
We're the only ones tonight?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry to
just a
drag you
couple-
out in this way. You could've just called us and, yeah.
No, we had a couple little things and that's,
All right, take care.
thank you. Next on the agenda, discuss regulations for fast food establishments with drive-through.
I don't know if you guys took a look at the proposed regs.
I did.
I think we covered everything on this.
We could probably just, re-talk about it for a quick second, since we didn't have a camera, I believe, the last one.
Okay,
when we
yeah.
discussed this, just so.
So at our last meeting, one of our members, which is not here, Mr. Palucci, had raised a concern regarding establishments that do have drive-throughs, and what he observed was some trash and litter. And after much discussion, the board felt in agreement that we should draft something that would address establishments that have drive-through establishments that would be able to control that nuisance. You want me to just read real quick what this? So this is a proposed regulation, and it's titled Regulations for Fast Food Establishments with Drive-Throughs. So the purpose, whereas the Lakeville Board of Health is responsible for inspecting food establishments within the town of Lakeville and must ensure compliance regarding trash and trash debris concerns, violations, and complaints, the Lakeville Board of Health has adopted the following regulations, proposed regulations.
Proposed.
Yeah, this is just the draft. Establishments that provide drive-through services must ensure trash and trash debris is controlled at all times. The authority. This regulation is promulgated pursuant to the authority granted to the Lakeville Board of Health by Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 111, Section 31, which states boards of health may make reasonable health regulations. Definition. A drive-through or drive-through, the way it's spelled, is a type of service provided by a business that allows customers to purchase products without leaving their cars. D, operating a fast food establishment, drive-through. Each drive-through establishment must supply at least one trash container, durable and stable, in the drive-through lane. The trash containers are to be changed daily or as needed so that they do not overflow and create a nuisance. Any trash or debris that is accumulated must be removed and disposed properly. The drive-through establishment is also responsible for accumulation of trash debris on the grounds. It would go into effect when the board approved it at a public hearing. F, violations, it shall be the responsibility of the establishment, permit holder, or his or her designee to ensure compliance of this regulation. The enforcement of this regulation shall be by the local Board of Health or its designated agent. And severability, if any provision of this regulation is declared invalid or unenforceable, the other provisions shall not be affected thereby, but shall continue in full force of and effect, And then it'd be the signatures. So again, this was a concern raised, and at our last meeting, the board asked to develop a proposed regulation. When I put this together, I tried to think of the scenarios. I didn't want it to be overkill either. I thought one trash container at the drive-through lane where it wasn't gonna just tip over with the wind, something more stable
Yeah.
and durable, and it would be able to control some of the complaints.
And this would be an adopted local Lakeville Board of Health regulation.
Yeah.
This is not any state regulations.
Nope. And right now, there's only two food service establishments with drive-throughs,
Yeah,
and maybe a potential third one. The question did come up, like pharmacies with the drive-through, but we're only,
but it's
I
not
made it where
food.
it's, where we permit the food establishments permits.
And a pharmacy is not considered a food establishment by any means,
No,
correct? So it's
and
just
we
a-
do permit, like a Walgreens and a CVS, but
But not for food.
not the food establishments, and that's if the board wanted to change that, but I think what, one of the members brought up was the trash debris at
The food
those
establishment.
establishments that he saw lying around.
So this Mass General Law that's cited, is that the same one that talks about noisome activities, or is there, it's different?
Oh, no,
one in the code?
that just,
I just wondered
that's
if
what
we-
gives local boards of health the
I'm just wondering
authority to,
if somebody goes, well, what's health concern about it? They might fight it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it just says we can
It's
make,
under
we put-
nuisance laws.
If we put in a noise and activity nuisance laws, then that, we have two bits of coverage there, you know what I mean? It's more than just, a health concern, but it's also, it's trash and it looks like, people could be complaining the trash is blown in there, into their property.
on that one, it just says, because where do we get the authority to make this regulation? It says in that regulation, boards of health can make reasonable regulations. And the idea behind that, which Cheryl Sabaro has that training video, if you're gonna make a regulation, you wanna be able to, are you gonna be able to enforce it? And she had used an example in one of those videos. She said, people complain about people talking on the cell phone while driving. Yeah, could you make a regulation saying you can't drive, and but who's gonna enforce that? You'd have to get the cops involved to make sure they're willing to stop, whatever it is. So is it, just because you can, doesn't mean you should, right? On this one, so if you really think about it, can you, while making this regulation, is it enforceable? Yeah, when I go do my food inspections, I go outside, same thing, and I say, hey, this trash is overflowing. Come on, guys, and they can do it right then and there. Or if we get complaints, we say, guys, we have a regulation in place because of the complaints. Can you pick up the trash blowing in the wind? Whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Right.
So those are additional regulations you can put on.
I was just thinking about if somebody was to fight it. If they were to say, well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's authority for health, well, they'll say, they could argue, what's the health risk?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, if we add that nuisance, a reference to that nuisance law that we can use.
Which one is it though, the nuisance?
Well, because Board of Health oversees anything that's noise
Yeah.
complaints, if it's trash.
Yeah,
going
well, we
into
already
the
have
lot.
that, so we can
So,
add,
I don't know if we should refer to both or not, that's the only thing.
we have that, we have a regulation that says, I'm trying, it's in the book, I think. Refers to. Anyone that creates a nuisance.
I think those barrels went away because of cost,
Yeah, I don't know.
because they were filling up so much, they was increasing their cost, their trash removal costs.
I think in all of them they went away that I've noticed. So I don't know if it was.
I lose half, but I noticed, I mean, those were like a year ago. That was
It's
a
been
while
that
ago.
long?
Yeah, I remember, because I used to, every
Yeah.
day, there was two of them. There's one going in, one right next to the speaker.
So we have one that says, Chapter 2, Land, Building, Environmental Regulations, Health Nuisances. The Board of Health shall examine all nuisances, sources of filth, and causes of sickness within the town. And then it actually says this in all of them. Or on board any vessels within the harbor of the town, which may, or it's an opinion, be injurious to the public health. The board shall take action to remove, prevent, and destroy and or eliminate all nuisances that shall make necessary regulations to the public health and safety relative thereto. Whoever violates this, and ours is $100 fine.
And that's under the nuisance.
It's under nuisances.
So what would this be considered, a health or a nuisance? It could be both.
I mean, it's both. I
Right.
was just saying to have,
Yeah, I think he just wanted to add, my thing, I think he wanted to add the barrels,
Yeah.
because technically, if I went to do a food inspection, and I do it all the time, where I always pop the back door open, and if I see the dumpster open, I'll write it and I'll say, dumpster observed open. I'll let them know,
It's supposed to be closed.
and they'll run over there and close, and I'll say corrected. But it's recorded that it was, and if I saw trash debris flying around, I'd say debris needs to be corrected. Are they gonna get it right then and there? Hopefully, but if they can't, I'll say it's open violation when I come back, you know?
Yeah.
So there's more than one way to skin a
Enforce it.
cat, yeah. But I think he wanted to more be proactive, say have it in place already,
Right.
instead of, hey, you got trash out there, I don't know.
And then I think, talking about the definition under C, seeing you brought up Walgreens and that drive-through, I think we should probably make the definition more specific to a food establishment. Because by reading that would, Walgreens drive-through would fall under, just as any drive-through where you don't, services provided for business that you don't have to get out of your car.
Yeah, so.
I don't think that was the intent of this regulation, Craig. It was
No,
just
no,
for-
no.
It should say any food establishment drive-through.
A food establishment drive-through?
Would that?
A fast food? Or food?
Just any food, I don't think we need to define fast food.
Yeah.
Just any food establishment, drive-through.
Then I can take the word fast out of all of them, right?
And that would be more specific to what?
Like this D, where it says operating a, get rid of fast?
Yeah, just a food establishment.
Yeah. On the front page, fast out, you think?
Yeah. Correct, I agree. You agree with that?
Yeah. You
Anywhere
never
the
know,
way to
you
see-
never know when
Just a
some come
food.
up.
Because then they can argue, we're not a fast food establishment, if anybody, just any food establishment.
Right.
Then if you wanna add that little section in?
Well, we have our own bylaw that says that.
Yeah, our own regulations.
So maybe if somebody was to fight it, we could cite the other one, if they ever came up, so maybe. we
And I
don't
can't
need to.
imagine somebody would fight one barrel.
I think
I
because
just
of
think
our
it should
last
be-
discussion, I think it was, I don't wanna speak for him. I think he was trying to be more proactive, where he's seen the trash,
Yeah.
and if it was there already, cause they were there, and
They
I think-
were
I think at the other establishment, it's there already, so it eliminates that trash debris that you see.
Yeah.
Because people, the sad thing is, and we're not looking for, I think, we're not looking for other people just dumping all their trash in there, but more where they don't just drop it and take off.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
tough one.
My thoughts were somebody might fight it is because I just assumed it was cost. Like I know people, those barrels were filling up
'Cause
a
everybody's-
lot. They were emptying them more than once a day easily. And you think of the cost to removal, and they probably saw it as a cost savings thing. And if it's dramatic, they might fight it. That's the only thing.
So that we would have to go to a public hearing anyway.
Yeah, the only thing we could probably do it is, not the only day, to give us enough time would be,
And
our next meetings, probably a month from today.
Which
Because
is
you have to get
fine.
in the paper, yeah.
I can
It'd be
notice in
like the
paper.
20th, I think.
Yeah. And now we currently have 2 food drive-throughs in town? 2. Okay.
Potentially a third. Do we know if that's a go or not?
Another way to look at it too is I could actually talk to the establishments and say.
That was my next concern.
Okay, I
Should
can
we notify, I mean, it'll be in the paper and
Yeah.
posted, it's on cable now, but should they actually, because it will directly affect them.
Yeah, well,
Maybe they would
I think
want to
I
send
think
out.
they should know.
Just send
Or they might even actually
representative.
say, you know what, I'll just put it up anyways.
Well, just,
Yeah.
they might want to come to the public hearing and they might say, we didn't even know this was on the discussion.
Yeah.
We weren't aware of it, so, I mean, I'd be fine with just
Of course, yeah.
notifying them and sending them a letter that's saying,
Do we know who the new ones are gonna be? Is that set in
No, I
stone
don't
yet?
know, I just know it's approved for a restaurant.
so that one wouldn't,
That place, I keep
wouldn't
seeing
matter because it's not
the discussions.
pre-existing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't think we'd have to worry about that one. Just the 2 that are existing that would affect,
Right.
and see if they have any concerns. that-
It's always good to get their input, because I bet you they'd say, okay, yeah, no problem.
Okay. So just change the wording on C and take out the fast and just put food establishments,
Yeah.
drive-through.
And we're good on
food
that one, I guess, because
establishments.
we already have.
Yeah, because I didn't.
Yeah.
I think I forgot that. It's been a while since it's come up.
And this is just like almost, you know, we have like the one food safety the state says one food safety manager, Lakeville required 2. You could be more stringent. This is just being more stringent. This is identifying something and making a reasonable regulation, I think.
Yeah, then we can have input at the public
Yeah.
hearing if, okay, you fine with that one?
Yeah.
We don't even need to make a vote or anything.
No,
on
yeah,
that.
so I'm gonna,
It's just,
Fran's gonna try to put it on as soon as we can. I think it'll probably be on the 20th. But I guess a motion saying, put it on the next available meeting, with a proper time frame for a public hearing. I guess, right?
want to make a motion on that one?
A motion.
To put it on, to make a public hearing?
Yeah, put it on a public
Kevin
hearing.
thinks we should have a motion to put it on a public hearing. And we'll
Sure.
vote.
Make a motion to put the new drive-through trash container regulations onto the March
a public hearing in March, maybe.
Public hearing in March.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's it under new business. We have no meeting minutes. I didn't see any come through. No. Okay. And then the babies clinic, you wanna announce that?
Do I have it? Yeah. So, this is a memo. The 2019 rabies clinic has been scheduled for Saturday, April 6th, 2019, to be held at the Highway Barn located at 6 Montgomery Street. And there's a flyer that's attached. I think we'll put it on the webpage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and
It says the newspapers in Lake Cam are already notified for posting.
Oh, perfect.
So it should be on the websites and
so vaccinations will be administered from 1:30 to 3 p.m. for dogs, and at 3 to 3:30 for cats. Real quick, dogs and cats must be at least 3 months old. For safety reasons, dogs must be on their leashes. Cats must be confined to a safety carrier. I think that's it, right? Oh,
also the town clerk will be on
there you go.
site to issue dog licenses that day, and also our animal officer will be there also when the animal shelter will be open for animal adoptions if anyone's interested. I think that covers it.
Perfect. Anything under correspondence?
Yeah, I have just two things real quick. This might not catch the next meeting. Our next meeting is the 6th. We have 2 new establishments, 2 applications that we're looking to review. One's a tanning salon, new owners at Main Street.
Was it a pre-existing tanning or it's all new?
It's been there already.
Okay.
It's just new owners that come in.
Okay.
But they need to, the new owner has to go through the whole permitting process. And food establishment at something's brewing.
Okay.
So it might, it's a little tricky because by the time the 6 come, I think they want to already get going.
So they're changing hands?
Yeah, so if I review it, then
Yeah.
I can still put on the 6th. But we kind of do the pending, we'll just make sure everything's spot on.
Okay.
I
So
just
you-
didn't want the individuals to wait until.
Wait,
Yeah.
so you find, well, that would probably make a motion on them?
Would you let them open up early?
Well,
Is that what you?
Try it.
I'll still put it on the meeting that we have the new establishments. It's just that by the time they just told me now, they were like, oh, we're looking to open. And I was like, well, the next meeting's the 6th now. Like, oh, we're gonna get all the paperwork into you. I was like,
So we'd just make a motion pending Kevin's inspection and approval of the 2 establishments that,
because the way we had it set up was all renewals I sign off on. All new establishment goes to the board.
Goes to
We'd
us.
still bring it in front of the board, but the way the timing is, if
Well, a
it's
lot of
every 2
times,
weeks, it's tough.
Usually
right?
vote on them contingent on your
Yeah.
inspection anyway.
correct, it'd be contingent
So-
on,
I'll give you an update on that. On,
At the next-
So we'll
hopefully,
be issuing actual licenses, is that the motion?
permits, yes.
Issuing
yeah.
permits? All right.
but they still got some stuff, a little stuff to do. They have
Do we
to-
actually have the 2 addresses?
One is
Something Brewing and just what?
one was the Studio 54, but I think it's 54 Main Street, I believe.
Yeah, but do we have a new owner?
I think we just had the address.
We just have, yeah, it's in the one in Planetary Plaza, and the other one's something Brewer.
Trying to think how to word this motion. The place, the tanning salon at.
We don't
Yeah.
have the complete application. We just gave them the paperwork,
All right.
but I think they're like, because with this, today's the 20th, by the time we don't meet until the 6th.
All right, I make a motion to, to give a permit for something brewing and the tanning place on Main Street to open pending Kevin's inspections
And it's 54 Main Street, Sanitary
I'm pretty sure,
Plaza.
yeah.
at the tanning salon at 54 Main Street.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That's good.
That's it.
And just one more correspondence real quick.
Okay.
So I had a meeting today, it's a lot to read. So this is a summary, and this is actually a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding that there's a grant, and the individuals that are part of the grant already are New Bedford, Fairhaven, Wareham, and Freetown. And it's a opioid prevention grant. So there's two parts of the grant. They have one that talks about just opioid prevention for adults, and the other one is primarily for youths and the prevention and catching them early in school. And the good thing about that one is they have programs on like substance abuse, violence, gangs.
We saw this at the conference in November.
Yeah.
They talked about this stuff.
So what they're asking us, well, they came to us and said, would you like to be part of this grant? And there's some stuff that we have to do,
To be part of it.
part of the meetings, we have to participate, but a lot of this stuff, they'll go into the schools, and we already share the school system with Freetown. So Nate was present, our fire chief was present, our police chief was on vacation. We had the two individuals from this agency. They gave us the MOU, just if you guys want to just read over when you're free time. And the only question that came up from Nate is, I have to just check with Rita, because my name is on that MOU. That's the way they drafted it.
Yeah.
And they were asking if we should change it to the chairman, of course, or does the selectman have to enter any MOUs, you know? So I just gotta get that clarification. But that's
Yeah,
what
I mean,
we.
it says contact person. I think that you would be our contact
Yeah,
person.
I'm
the only one here.
Technically, I'm the liaison, they
Yeah.
said, because I'll be going to the meetings.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
whatever you do, you just obviously tell us, update us as what's going on.
So I just wanted to keep you up to speed. That happened today, that meeting.
The meeting was today.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're also gonna give us a report on, they met with the town clerk and they got the records for death certificates. And they're gonna put it together, our report like on our individuals that had opioid deaths in Lakeville. So I think it's a great program because it only just doesn't identify it. It goes towards meeting up with the person maybe at the hospital when they're having that episode or whatever it is. Having the counselors right there, hopefully
Right.
meeting with the families. Everybody knows that all these families are affected. Then in turn, even in the schools, meeting up with these young kids, and they talk about substance abuse, violence, gangs, family issues. So, and they had told me, they're not just going in there that one time and saying, okay, here's stuff about substance abuse, and I think it's periodically, monthly, whatever it is, trying to drill it into these young minds, because there is a serious problem in this country when it comes to this.
And there's state funding available
State funding, yeah.
for this?
They had talked about too, obviously these grants run out. When I had asked that question, they said, well, hopefully they'll fund them again because they know there's such an issue. But then Nate brought up a good point. If, just say it was less money, because there's time involved in the resources. Because on some of the things, I think you have to have a police presence at one of the, whatever it is,
Yeah.
on some of the things. So if there's money that's not readily available, the question came up, can you use some of that money when it came to that money we get back from the marijuana establishments? And they believe you can.
To go
Yeah.
towards some of these programs?
Yeah, that would make sense.
So there's always money there in case the
Hopefully they
grants
learn-
fell through, but
Hopefully with this,
I-
to learn
I-
lessons from
the grants have
programs
been
from the
well
past
funded.
that
Yeah.
necessarily didn't statistically work.
So I just got this today
Considering-
too. I gotta read more of it.
Okay.
You know, the last big program that was supposed to help with this stuff,
Yeah.
most of the people that are having problems now came up through that system.
Now, if you,
I'm not gonna name the name.
if they had stuff at the school, would you be present at the school for these seminars?
I would-
Or
I
do you
would
get
like
that
to- I would like
involved
to,
as
yeah.
part of?
I know on those, this says where I'm, like on the, do I? On this last page, think it talks about what they're looking for us to. Oh, it's in the summary. In the last part of the summary. Partnering communities of Fairhaven, Freetown, Wareham are responsible for the following. So these are things you have to do to be part of this. Participate as a member of the Greater New Bedford Prevention Coalition and attend at least 80% of the scheduled monthly meetings. In the event of the representative cannot attend, they will provide at least 24-hour notice. Participate in local prevention working group with the Greater New Bedford Opioid Task Force, and that's another thing, we're trying to actually make a task force. Collaborate in developing, improving, and sustaining local substance abuse prevention work group. Serve as the liaison for its respective community. Provide monthly updates to the Greater New Bedford Prevention Coalition about the prevention work being done locally. So we just report what we're doing. Act as a point person for the municipality in completing the cluster community proposal, which I have to learn more about, and communicate with program coordinators on any external communication matters that are funded by or related to the grant. So I know those are the responsibilities of the grant.
Yeah, to be part of it. Okay. Do you have any questions on that one?
No,
There's nothing we need to vote or approve on,
No.
it's all.
I know.
just
No,
an
when we
update on
heard it at the last,
I guess it would be
Thing.
something that the board endorses.
Yes,
yeah, like,
definitely, yes.
So,
when we heard about all this stuff at the last, not convention.
yeah, conference.
Yeah, conference.
I thought it was interesting, but it was still, like, I didn't know how much,
Right.
how we would get involved in what other communities
I
and
mean, obviously, it's gonna take up some of your scheduled time
Yeah.
during the week to,
all the meetings during the day.
I know there's one, she's gonna send an email, there's one that's on March 6th, and it's obviously during the day.
yeah.
But that's one that's, I'm gonna see if the fire chief wants to come with me, and the police chief.
Yeah.
She's gonna send out an email, we'll see.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool.
All right, I'd just like to make one announcement of the former Lakeville employee that worked for 30 years plus at the Selectman's Office and the Board of Health, Nancy Tesser. She was 72 years old. Just like to make everyone aware of that. And I believe
Passed away.
she passed away. I believe that's why Bob is not here tonight. He was going. Other than that, that's all I have. Anything else?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.